I just rewatched Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and not surprisingly, it holds up a real good.
Bueller.
The charismatic Ferris and his friends enjoy an incredible day in the city while the cartoonish principal tries to catch him in the act. Classic cat and mouse story that focuses more on the characters than the actual plot. Sometimes it actually feels like the setting is more important than the actual plot. The whole film is set in the Chicagoland area. That's what people in Illinois call Chicago and all the suburbs that surround Chicago.
No hamburgers free.
If you're bored with the same routine, keep on the lookout for Mr. Submarine.
There are Mr. Submarine locations throughout Chicagoland. Look for us. Chicagoland.
I love that name because if you live in the city, it makes going out to the burbs feel like you're going to some theme park filled with chain restaurants and better schools.
Think you'll be alive this weekend?
Yeah, I'd say I will.
Great, maybe I'll see ya. Bye.
When people in Chicago talk about Chicago movies, like, The Dark Knight, The Blues Brothers, Fred Claus, I think it's safe to say that most people have Ferris Bueller at the top or close to the top of their list. When you're talking about Chicago movies, you can't get much more Chicago than Ferris Bueller. It's directed by John Hughes, and he said that the film was a love letter to Chicago, and it shows. But the whole movie wasn't shot in Chicago or even in Chicagoland. Some of it was actually shot in La La Land. So that got me thinking, how much of the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, a film that many consider the quintessential Chicago film, is actually shot in Chicago? Not the burbs, but Chicago proper. So let's go on a little tour of the filming locations in Ferris Bueller and figure out what percentage of this movie is actually in Chicago. Like and subscribe, please, and thank you.
That boy ain't right.
We're first introduced to Ferris in his family's home, but we are not off to a good Chicago start because this house is actually located in Long Beach, California. The next location we see is Ferris's high school, and this was filmed in the Chicagoland area. We're at Glenbrook North High School in Glenbrook, Illinois. And a lot has changed about this school, obviously, but one thing hasn't changed, and that's this entrance right here. It's basically the only outside shot we get of the school, so it's pretty cool that it hasn't changed. Now, the high school is located about 20 miles from downtown Chicago. From the high school, Ferris could have just walked to the Northbrook Metro line and taken a train into the city, but then how is he supposed to pick up Sloan?
Between grief and nothing, I'll take grief.
Great. I guess that's my dad.
Yeah.
Hi.
Do you have a kiss for Daddy?
Are you kidding?
So that's how it is in their family.
Anyway, we're still not in Chicago, so let's move on. The next new location we go to is Cameron's house. This beautiful mid-century modern home was built in 1953. The house was specifically designed to show off the original owner's car collection, so you can see how this is the perfect filming location. Unfortunately, this is not in Chicago, it's in a suburb, Highland Park, so none of these scenes count. Come on, show me some Chicago! Okay, the next new location is an establishing shot of where Ferris's mom works, and yeah, it's not Chicago. We're in a suburb, Winnetka. More specifically, this building in Winnetka, which was an actual real estate office when they filmed here, and still is a real estate office to this day.
This is all news to me.
Usually is.
We are 15 minutes in, and I still don't see Chicago! Finally! And it's right downtown where the river splits. This is 333 Wacker Drive. It's a pretty cool area of the city, but can't get too excited because the interior shots of Mr. Bueller's office are actually shot in LA. So just these exteriors count.
Okay.
Hey, Ferris.
Yeah.
Love you, pal.
I love you too.
After some more hijinks with our beloved characters, the movie finally moves from the burbs to Chicago right after Ferris picks up Sloane. We're treated to a bunch of aerial shots of the city, and there's some interesting things to see here. Like here, in this small open area with the grass and the train station, this is now where Millennium Park is. That's what contains Cloudgate or the Bean. We also get a couple skyscrapers being built. This building right here under construction, I can't immediately tell what it is, but if you look in the background here, you could see the Adventures in Babysitting building and the lake. So if I just go into Google and line up the building with the lake, and then just head down Randolph Street a bit, and boom, there it is, 123 North Wacker. You could see the square corner windows have already been installed here. Here's what the finished product looks like. We're then introduced to the parking attendants, and this parking garage is still there. It's located on Madison and Wells Street. Here's what it looks like today. It's a parking garage, and the parking attendants start off their joyride by heading down what looks like wells under the L tracks. Ferris and his friends then visit the Sears Tower, or what is now called the Willis Tower, if you want to call it that because you're a psychopath or something. And we're then treated to more glamour shots of the city. You could still go up here today. It's been updated, and there's also this glass sky deck if you're brave. After the Sears Tower, we immediately head over to the Chicago Board of Trade, and wow, these shots are fantastic. Back in the day, they used to have to run around with these different colored jackets on, yelling, and it was just all chaos. But unfortunately, it's all digital now. Our next scene is the famous Abe Froman Sausage King of Chicago scene that takes place at a restaurant that does not exist. The outside of the restaurant is actually someone's house in Chicago, located at 22 West Schiller Street. Today, the outside has been remodeled, so unfortunately, you can't pretend to be Abe and try to get in.
You're Abe Froman.
That's right. I'm Abe Froman.
The Sausage King of Chicago.
Yeah, that's me.
The inside was filmed at a restaurant in Los Angeles, so none of these interior shots count towards Chicago filming. The next Chicago shots are of Wrigley Field. Wrigley has obviously changed a lot since this, mostly in the last few years. The outside looks better, and it has a large public space, and the inside has a ton of quality of life improvements, but it does come at the cost of a ton of ads.
Yeah, nothing quenches a Cub fan's thirst for victory quite like the king of beer. Holy cow, here comes another one. For you.
The film then treats us to a great skyline shot as Cameron's dad's car gets more destroyed. Then we're off to the Art Institute of Chicago, and just like Cameron, you could still see a Sunday afternoon here, or if you're more of a Ferris, you can go make out by the beautiful stained glass area. That's actually pretty private in real life. We then get a bunch of street level shots when the gang almost runs into Mr. Bueller for the second time. And the next is probably the most famous scene in the movie, the parade scene. What kind of parade is held in downtown Chicago on a school day? I don't know, it doesn't matter. Lots of great shots of downtown here. It does jump around a bit here where they're dancing on the stairs. This is right outside what is now the Chase building. But then these two are on Dearborn by Calder's Flamingo. It doesn't really matter. We're going with the most interesting shots of downtown, and there's so much great stuff to see here. The gang go to pick up their car and then quickly realize how many miles the parking attendants put on it, and Cameron freaks out. These are the last images of Chicago in the movie. The next scene is at Glencloe Beach, which is in the Chicago suburbs. So, we've now gathered all our shots and can figure out how much of Ferris Bueller's Day Off is actually shot in Chicago. First, the movie's runtime. I'm counting when the opening credits start all the way through the ending credits because the credits are played over an actual scene in the movie. So that gives us a runtime of 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 20 seconds. Now that I've shown you all the shots, what percentage of this movie do you think was actually shot in Chicago? 10%, 30%, 80%? If you want, pause, go down and guess in the comments. If not, I'm gonna tell you in now. Adding up all the scenes that are shot in Chicago, we get a total of 19 minutes and 21 seconds of real Chicago scenes. That means that only 19% of Ferris Bueller's Day Off is actually shot in Chicago. That number is way lower than I expected.
4,000 restaurants in the downtown area. I picked the one my father goes to.
We're pinched for sure.
No way, Cameron. Only the meat get pinched. The bold survive.
Why is that? Well, after going through the film scene by scene, I noticed that a lot of the screen time is given to the principal and Jeannie, who both spend 100% of the movie's runtime in the Chicago suburbs or filming in LA. When it's just Ferris, though, it's mostly Chicago, and I would argue that the most memorable scenes are in Chicago. So that's how somebody like me could think it would be closer to like 75%, but nope, it's 19%. You know what? I bet if I count all of the Chicagoland scenes, then that number has to be closer to like 90%. So let's check. All I gotta do is remove all the footage that was filmed in Los Angeles. So that's all this interior of the restaurant scene. Then it's anything at the Bueller home, but that's not too much. Okay, wow. Actually, there's a lot of scenes at this house. Oh yeah, I forgot the principal home alones himself. Okay. Almost forgot the interior of that pizza parlor. That's in LA. Oh yeah, and there's the whole pool scene. Okay. Then we got that famous race home. A lot of these took place in different suburbs, but I can't believe how much LA is spliced in. The trampoline, the slow motion falling, all take place in LA with that awesome music. That's all filmed in LA. Okay, so added it up, 39 minutes and 58 seconds of this movie is filmed in LA. That means 39% of Ferris Bueller's Day Off is in LA. That means 42% belongs to the suburbs. This is all very surprising information for me. Just 61% is shot in Chicagoland.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Also, if you didn't know, there was a Ferris Bueller TV show, and of course you didn't know because a normal person doesn't know this. Yes, they made a Ferris Bueller TV show in 1990, and all you need to know about it is it lasted a season, the music is horrendous.
I'm Ferris Bueller, and I'd like to introduce you to my good friend, Les.
Ferris Bueller!
Jennifer Aniston is in it, and it takes place in Santa Monica, California again? Come on!
Matthew Broderick as me. Goodbye.
Man, that shit pissed me off, man.
Now, even with this new information, I still consider Ferris Bueller's Day Off to be a quintessential Chicago movie. Sure, the actual filming locations is only 19% of the movie, but it's still set in Chicago, and all the activities that Ferris does on his day off are very Chicago focused. I mean, Chicagoans are famous for just randomly taking over parades. There are even people online who have spent time figuring out if it's even possible to do all these things in one day. And guess what? It is. It's 100% possible. What do you think? Is there a movie that you love that you think is more of a Chicago movie and has more shots of Chicago than Ferris Bueller? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'm a small channel, so any like and subscribe really helps out. If you want to see how much of Chicago is in while you were sleeping, or how much sleeping is in while you were sleeping, you could check out that video on the left. Or you could watch the video on the right. That's the one that YouTube thinks you're going to like the most.